morning, everyone. Today is October 22nd, 2020, and we're here for Mediation, the New Possibilities Hour. We're very happy to have with us today John J. King, Jr. of Kudos Mediation Service in Massachusetts, here to talk about mediating with the Black family. And John, before we turn it over to you, I want to remind everybody that this is part of the Will Work for Food project, which Natalie Armstrong organized in the spring of 2020. It's a fundraiser for food banks. We don't ask people to pay us for these great webinars. Rather, we ask people to contribute to a food bank if they like what they see. And Natalie, it's very exciting every week to ask you for the running total. Many times people are kind enough to let you know when they have contributed to a food bank. And I would say drum roll, please, but why don't you just tell us?
Well, that's okay, Jeff. Our community deserves a drum roll. Just this morning, we surpassed $57,000 in contributions to food banks worldwide. And I'll tell you why. Yesterday, I was a little disappointed that we were so close. We were only $15 away from the $57,000 mark. So my husband, my lovely husband, logged online and put us over the edge. He made a $50 contribution in my name so that we could announce today that we hit the $57,000 mark. So well done to everybody in the ADR industry. Thank you all so much for helping out our friends and neighbors during this time of COVID crisis.
That's beautiful. Thank you all so much for your generosity. And it's a great pleasure to introduce John J. King, Jr. to everyone from Kudos Mediation Service in Massachusetts. To introduce John, I want to read you an excerpt from his website. John's a very candid person, describes himself as an open book, and he writes on his website about his own experience going through divorce. And he writes that there were days, speaking now in John's voice, there were days that I did not trust my own thoughts and emotions on ways of how to move forward. One day, while talking to my father, my hero, about my lonely feeling and regrets of being married, he said to me, "Never regret the good you have done for others. A man takes the bad situation he was dealt and makes it better." His rational and non-derisive words made me realize that I was privileged to have someone who will listen to me without judgment and without denigrating the mother of his grandchildren. It took a load off my stress. In 2015, while having a session with my therapist, he pointed out to me how lucky I was to have a father like mine who stood with me most of the way through this terrible ordeal. A lot of people do not have that kind of support like you do from your father. It left me with the feeling of wanting to do something about that bad situation for others in need. And John, your commitment to doing things, to helping people in bad situations, others in need, rings through loud and clear. We're very happy to have you here to talk about mediating with Black families. Why don't you please first tell us about a food bank that's important to you, to which you encourage contributions. The floor is yours.
Well, okay, thanks, Jeff. And first I need to say I never expected this, excuse me. I never expected this to get emotional for me because I lost my father just a few months ago. So, just bear with me, please. I lost my hero a few months ago. So, okay. The food bank of my choice will be the Codman Square Health Center over here in Dorchester, Massachusetts. As we go along, I will explain why I chose this places on particularly Codman Square Health Center. Okay, now guys, it's like, right, as Natalie's, I'm still trying to build up after the emotions of my father, Jeff. I never expected that to come up.
John, I didn't mean to.
No, but you know what, this is what, everything is an opportunity, because I am glad that you said that, because now you give me more of a platform to explain how privileged I was about having John J. King Sr. as my father. So actually, it's like, again, I take every situation and I like to turn it around to be positive. Okay, so now my food bank of choice will be the Codman Square Health Centers. And as we go along, I will explain why. Okay, but
And
then
John, let me just say the artwork that you see hanging over my shoulder was done by my father, Joseph Kinshaven, when he was a college student during the Great Depression, studying architecture at the Armour Institute of Technology in Chicago. And I'm very proud and very happy to have remembrance of my father with me as well.
so do I. So do I. But then it's good morning again, guys. My name is John J. King Jr. I'm the founder of Kudos Family Mediation. Formerly, when Natalie had introduced herself to me, I was with Seven Principles Family Mediation Services. I started Seven Principles Family Mediation Services, okay, with the focus on the Black American community. I mean, I guess by the sound of my accent, I guess it's like, right, some of you might surmise that I was not born in this country. So then that gives me the opportunity to bring a global view of communication. Jeff, just like you, my father was a journalist who traveled around the world. So I have a passion for travel. I love communicating with people, learning different cultures. Now, with that said, with Seven Principles Family Mediation Services, and part of what you read from my website, I'm going to follow up on that. Yes, I did go through a very tumultuous divorce, very painful, very emotional, and my go-to medication at that choice was alcohol. Okay, just the fact about not being in the same house with my kids if they're sick at night, so just being that father to my kids like my father was to me, that took a toll on me. So alcohol brought me comfort. I normally like to say it's like, right, alcohol saved me for a while because it pickled me. Okay, but after I got divorced, I moved in with my mom, who lived in the house by it's like right by herself. Shortly after moving in, she got ill. Okay, she passed away 3 years after, while I was still an alcoholic. So then that left me homeless after she passed away. Being homeless was the best thing I could say ever happened to me in my life. Because being the life that I lived, I never heard my parents complain about bills. Money was never an issue in my life. So now me being in a homeless shelter after I wanted nothing to do with life, okay, and it was very much the point in time I was very much suicidal, and my means of communications was jumping in front of the train. Then this figure came from this angelic figure, I like to say, came from my mother, reminded me, this is not why I am here. It's like that voice of her saying, just think about that trauma you're going to bring to that train driver. That is not you. You do not want to leave that legacy behind. That day, I don't know what happened. I did not know how. I called out to all deities, all gods that they were to just help me out of this situation, because this was not me. I don't remember how I did it, but I ended up in the mayor's office. I don't know how I got past security, but they did say, it's like, we've never had someone who approached us in such a manner. So I said, well, you know, you guys know everything what's going on in the city. Okay, find me some help. I'll be sitting right there on the couch. Through that process, okay, I ended up in the 110 Southampton homeless shelter. There I found my purpose, because I got to speak, and the key word is to listen to so many people, so many men I would not have before, given the time of day. The type of people who I thought that was morally flawed, who with character, with weak character principles, okay? In that homeless shelter, I got to listen, okay? Being of my diverse culture, excuse me, not coming from this country, with a global perspective of things, I started to realize how privileged I was. So now just sharing my experiences, that brought enlightenment to a lot of folks. I'm not the type of person to, you will very rarely get a negative word from me. Now, being in that shelter, I got to listen to a lot of stories, okay? And particularly about Black men not wanting to support their children, and Black men on welfare and stuff like that. I got to find out that was the furthest thing from the truth. Okay, black men do love their children. They do want to be there for, it's like right for their children. But the systemic barriers and the racial injustice in this country, and being on the lower economical scale, how do you step up? Because me as a man, I know if society is telling me that I'm nothing, I'm not going to act. Okay. Now, I have heard so many stories about these men. The only thing that they are longing for is to be with family, is to be with their children. They themselves has been kept away from by. It's the inconsistencies in law where they do want to be there, but with their lack of communication with the children's mother, it becomes an adversarial relationship where most times both parents do want the best for their kids. Okay, but without that communication tools, they weren't able to do it. So then that gave me purpose. So I made a vow to myself, when I do get out of that shelter, I'm going to come back and I'm going to turn back and look out for those demographics. Okay, but however, the surprise was on me. All this deep ingrained of mistrust of the social justice system. Me as a mediator who is also black, approaching fathers and approaching mothers and saying, look, right, you do have, well, particularly fathers, look, guys, you do have your day in court, okay? The courts will listen to you, okay, right? I will be there with you to go through their, it's like right there, their process. I will be your mouthpiece. What I found out was the deep mistrust of the justice system is so ingrained. What I really experienced was other black fathers looking at me saying, how could you look just like me? Are you saying to me, it's like we will have a chance, we could win in front of a white judge, in front of a white criminal, it's like in front of a system that discriminates against us? What makes you think that? Okay, and another barrier that came up was my West Indian accent. Okay, what makes you think you know the system so well? Most of them I have to say, it's like, I've been in this country before you were born. Okay, now meeting with clients one-on-one, I have always mentioned to my clients, if there's one person you need to be honest with, it's me. Okay, we're gonna go in front of that judge and I make it clear to my clients, if you give one lie, I'm gone. Okay, so now sitting with my clients, what I have found out is normally the black mothers that's more anxious to get to the bottom of what's going on. It's like, why is he doing this? Why is he not doing that? When I do try to get through the fathers, okay, it's more like, I don't want to deal with her. Okay, I don't stand a chance. I'm not going to go to court. She's a woman. This is Massachusetts. It's a woman's state. So now that mistrust was there. Okay, and what perpetuated that is because of the lower income scale of the average black man. The reason why I found out also that they are on the lower, it's like economic scale, is because so many black Americans have a criminal record. That just amazed me. And now digging into that some more, I have joined an organization here in Massachusetts, which I tend to withhold the name from because their mission and mine was completely different. So I tend to leave them out. Now, that was a grassroots agency really bent on working with black fathers. Okay, so now being with that agency, I got to interview a lot of more black men. One of the reasons I found that black men would not come to the table with honesty about child support. This child support is just a it's a poisonous word. Those are poisonous words in the black community. Why? Because to be on the lower end of the social economical scale, you have a lot of black fathers doing extra work under the table just to get by. Okay, and the reason, now child support is killing a lot of black fathers. The reason why I have experienced is because black men, again, don't trust the court system. So when the mother files for child support, they will refuse to go to that hearing. That brings compiled issues. If you do not show up to court, there's a warrant out for your arrest. Okay. Now you might be pulled over for a simple driving infraction, like running light. The police runs your. It's like the police runs your information. There's a warrant out for your arrest. Okay, right. You get arrested. You get sent to jail. Whether for the night, whether for the weekend. Now you have the expense of a lawyer. Also, court fees. That's that's compounded with the child support. Now that brings further acrimony, because normally what you will hear is she had me locked up for child support. My thing is, she did not have you locked up for child support. These are the events which took place. Okay. Now, when I will try to facilitate these meetings with the father and say, this is what I could help you with this. Okay. Let's work out your expenses, because what the state does do, if you don't show up for your child support hearing, they give you information over to the Department of Revenue. The Department of Revenue now runs runs a background to try to get in touch with you. Now, when they do see that you are working, I'm going to throw hypothetical figures out there. If they see that you're gainfully employed and bringing in a gross income of $2,000 a month, they're going to go ahead and garnish 25 to 30% of your wage from that $2,000 a month. My thing, I was trying to bring men to the table to say, look, guys, if you do go to court, that $2,000 a month that you're bringing, the Department of Revenue is going to sit with you and work out your expenses. Whatever that is your living wage, whatever money that you have to live, this is what the monies will be deducted from. So again, I throw in a hypothetical figure. If you're bringing in $2,000 a month, and after the $2,000 with your living wage and expenses, if what you do have in your pocket is $600, the 30% is going to come off from the $600 opposed to the $2,000. Okay. However, number one, that was right. Again, that was surprising to the demographics. But then again, how do I get them into court when they are saying to me that they're having a hard time surviving? Now, when you do work out their expenses, the courts will see, sir, there's no way you could live off the money that you're claiming. Okay, something is wrong somewhere. Then, okay, because again, they don't want the courts to know that they are doing something on the side. Okay, now, in a scenario like this, what I normally like to say to my clients, if we do tend to go to court, please, what you wear says a lot. Because what I have found is, like, a lot of people wants to make the other person jealous by going to court wearing something fancy. Okay, or it's like wearing some fancy clothes, which does not help the cause. Now, going through all that, and it's just that with the black men, it further complicates things where they just refuse to go in front of a white judge, again, thinking that they just don't care. The system does not care about them. Okay, and that became problematic. Now, what I have found is I became something of distrust, okay, because that barrier was put up. College educated, West Indian, what would you know about me? What would you know about my situation? So with that said, guys, I did not get too far with 7 principles. I have spent more money trying to promote the business. And because it was very heart-wrenching, I had to give it up. Okay, and I decided to then do a general mediation, which all of my mentors are white. Okay, and what I have been told by all of them is, like, your global perspective, you will be better off serving a white community. But something that I had learned from Natalie the first time that we spoke, okay, my thing is that I am not going to focus on any particular community, but the person, but the father. Okay, so this is where I am really at right now, is that mistrust of the social justice system that is hindering so much in this country. And the ramifications with that, we all are involved, because you know what? We all live in the United States. We are all American. I'm not even going to tie that to this political situation that's going on, because to me, it's appalling. It's just that Americans are fighting against each other. I have never seen anyone fight and win the moral. It's like the moral subject here. So if I sit here with you guys, with everyone in front of me, and asking if there's any help we could collectively put together, and find out, it's like, how could we help the Black American community? Okay, I could give feedback. I cannot say that I'm an expert. I cannot be an expert at something that I simply don't understand. However, I do understand why Americans are um, why they have that mistrust for the system. So then, yeah, this is where it stands right now. And I switched from 7 principles with a very, very, very heavy heart, because I'm not one that gives up. And now with this current situation in the United States with the Black Lives Matter and the George Floyd situation, guys, I have done so much research into this, because I said the Judge Floyd situation was a criminal justice issue. Okay, and right now with the Black Lives Matter, an unfortunate incident has turned into racial issues, because racial to me, someone's skin color is a default. Me personally, because it's like, right, we don't know how to facilitate communication. Now, Natalie, as you're aware, okay, the love, my love right now, who means every single thing to me, she's a white woman, and her mom is right there, Kathy Morrow. Say hi to Kathy, everyone. Okay, so now Kathy Morrow is right here, and um, my thing is like, with this criminal justice system, I have been trying to facilitate conversation so much, because I'm trying to make the George Floyd incident not a racial issue, but a criminal justice issue. But now the thing is, speaking with people on both sides, I don't like to say both sides, blacks and whites. I like to say Americans, okay? No further divisions. What I have found out, having conversation with many people, my colleagues, my friends, strangers, us Americans, we don't know too much about each other. We don't. I live out here in the country, okay, and folks who I would have thought before to be of racist minds, getting to speak with these people, I found out that most of us Americans, we just don't understand each other. Folks here in the country would not understand what's going on in the inner city. Being here in the country, and I could understand why so many people love America, why so many people look at America as the best thing on the face of this earth, while those folks in the city sees everything that's wrong with America. So collectively, I am here, and I'm glad I have all these mediators in front of me. So if I could get any feedback collectively, guys, how could we help America? How could we help America, guys, as people who are involved with conflict and dispute every day? I need some help, because America has adopted me. America is my home. No matter where I travel in almost like right in this world, I am being considered an American. I went to Ireland last week. To my great surprise, I was being considered an American. When I got back to the United States, I was a Black American. That puts me in another category. I'm like, whoa, I'm home. Okay, now it's like, right, I am labeled. So as I look at everyone in front of me here who deals with dispute resolutions, guys, how could we help America? From your experiences, I don't know if everyone here has diverse clients like I do, although I don't have enough clients. I wish I had more. Okay, guys, I would like for us to do together collectively. I only have experience in this scenario with the Black Americans. I cannot say that I'm an expert, because it hurts my heart that I could not help. I'm looking at a bunch of experts in front of me this morning here, guys. How could we do this together for the betterment of our country? Yeah, right. It's like, right, I like this to be interactive. Hi, Kimberly.
Hey, so I am a member of and work with an organization called Mediators Beyond Borders International, and they have 2 new initiatives right now. And one of them is community dialogue with police, rebuilding that kind of community. The other is around voting. This one just started. It's called the Trust Network. And it is setting up early warning, early response in mediators It's lots of national organizations are alerting for potential problems, and they're recruiting mediators to be the ones to stand in the gap and try to stop the problems before they start. But they always have initiatives. And I know here in Tennessee, where I am, one of my dear friends runs a community mediation center. And in her community, between Black and white, there is a distrust of white, as you said, to facilitate a conversation where a Black person is has been arrested by the police, and there's a desire to mediate those kinds of things, but to have Black mediators representing them for the sake of trust. So I think community mediation centers is a great place to start, but mediators beyond borders. A lot of the CMCs have restorative practice, restorative justice. The thing with mediators beyond borders between the police and the community dialogues is eventually they're trying to get mediation, a mediator with each police, at least a mediator with each police network to facilitate complaints between the two, to build those bridges between. So they have lots of other things going on as well, but they'd wrap their arms right around you.
And did you say that is did you say that you have they do have that in place in Tennessee?
What in particular?
Okay, it's right, the community mediation centers.
Oh, so we have in Tennessee, we have 4 community mediation centers. You know how they function, and you know their scope of functioning and how many there are. Just that's very state to state, but we do have some here. Where are you located?
I am in Massachusetts right now.
Okay. I'm sure Massachusetts has got some good community mediation centers.
I have tried to, we had a leadership summit once because I am also with the Boston University School of Medicine. I was given the platform, okay, to host a mediation, it's an hour of mediation, explaining mediation to a group of Black men. What I have found out is those in the crowd who were under the age of 23, they were very much interested in mediation. Mm-hmm. And what I found is those that's under the age of 30, 35, okay, a few of them walked out. Mm-hmm. Okay, and like those who did stay behind, the questions that I got, they just simply felt like mediation was simply not for them because so many Black men have criminal records, and the great majority of these guys, I will say is up to 97, 98% of these guys, it was just for minor infractions, which precipitated into a felony. Okay, now a lot of these guys, especially those who do have the criminal record, they will believe, are you saying that I do have a chance in front of a judge with my criminal record? I have been locked up for a while, trying to explain to them that has absolutely nothing to do with your child, with your fathering. That did not fly. That did not fly at all. So yeah, right, again, it's like I am quite open to suggestions, to any questions. I love questions because if there's anything that I'm leaving out, if there's anything like someone might be interested in knowing about, please throw all the questions at me.
Elliot's got a question for you, John.
This might feel uncomfortable. I'm in Minneapolis, Minnesota, where that's where George Floyd's murder took place. And I see that as the epicenter of a new movement within Black Lives Matter. I've been reading this book called So You Want to Talk About Race. It's an easy read, and it's a most difficult read. I used to think that I wasn't a racist, but growing up in America with white privilege, which I couldn't help but enjoy as I grew up makes me realize that I can't help but be a racist. And the next step then is for us to learn how to be better than that. And I do believe that there's a systemic problem in this country and around the world against Black and brown people that needs to be addressed. And this has been going on for centuries. So recognizing the validity of a person's distrust of a racist society, I think, is very important and is a first step. Then I'm really at a loss as to what to do other than to try to bring awareness to this problem that I believe truly exists in this country. So I don't know, I guess I'd open it up to other people if they have any idea about when I'm doing a mediation and I'm dealing with a person who is Black or brown, or let's just say not white, what I need to do as a white mediator is to gain that trust that is absent for good reason, because the reason Black Lives Matter is because it hasn't mattered for centuries. We can all say white lives matter, sure, but that's already been spoken. That's already in the systemic situation that we're in. So it's like stating the obvious. This society says white lives matter. It treats us great, but Black lives need to be spoken. And so the person that I'm dealing with, who is subject to the implicit biases of our system, from grade school through the penitentiary, where there's been a pipeline, that causes the very problems that you're discussing. I should probably get off my soapbox here and ask people to tell me I'm missing something. I'll shut up now.
Well, this is what, Elliot, what you had just mentioned to me is a common theme that I have been hearing from a lot of white people. What could I do? I did not know. Okay, let's take my fiance's mom. Okay, sweetest person you will ever meet. But during the George Floyd incident and being cooped up, I'm a very social person. I love to engage. Being cooped up, I went through anxiety, which I considered very valid anxiety, because I remembered being afraid to talk to them, because I'm like, they're country folks. What would they understand about what I'm going through? And so many times when we do try, when a Black American tend to say that I'm hurting, it's being looked at as antisocial behavior, or you causing trouble. This is why we remain mute in the office, okay, right? It's like right at work in our office, okay? There are a lot of silent words that's being spoken when we hear white people talk about their weekend, how it was. We'll look at each other. If I have to do that, I'll have been arrested. Okay, so now how are we supposed to know each other? I live here in the country now. Right now, my neighbors across the street, it's sheep and llamas. Okay, how is someone that lives over here supposed to know about what I'm going through as a Black person in the city? I learned something. It's like, right, I learned something. It's like from my fiance's. I learned something from my fiance's mother. It's like, aren't you an American? Why? It's like, aren't you an American? Why do you feel that way? I'm like, whoa. It's like she admitted to me. She was like, whoa, I really did not know that there was a difference. She's a kind woman, very, very kind woman. I had mentioned to her, if you had to be in the inner city, working around black men, they will consider you mom. Because number one, you're a white woman coming from this, it's like right coming from the right, the country, and actually dealing with them as a person, as an entity, as a person. Okay. Now, something that I really wanted to put in there, Jeff, you know what? America is afraid of black men. I'm going to give you two instances. Okay. I was in court one day. I was in family court one day. There was this gentleman. The judge had called him up, and the judge was like, "Sir, please state your case." He said, "Your Honor, I have nothing to say." The judge was like, "Excuse me, sir, you were the one who brought this forth." He said, "Your Honor, I am now 43 years old. I did some stupid things in my teenage years and in my 20s. I went to jail. I came from jail when I was in my 30s. I have learned so much in jail. Now that I have come from jail, I'm trying to make things right. Okay. I want to be in my child's life. I don't mind paying my child support. I don't know how I'm going to pay it. But right now, Your Honor, I have become a criminal again, trying to be in my child's life because of what the child's mother says to the police. And I'm a big black man, Your Honor. I'm 200, and I think it was 40 something or 67 pounds. He said, Your Honor, the police, everyone is afraid of a big black man. Could you imagine what a big black man like myself has to go through? Because guys, I could tell you one thing which the black community did not like about my video, when my video says I didn't know what I didn't know. It's like, right, my girlfriend and myself had that interview. The fact is about it, black men in America, we are always scared. 100% when we leave the house, we're scared. Now with my white relatives, colleagues, and friends, they were very shocked when I said, that does not include me. Does not mean, no matter how rich you are, how educated you are, you could be a foreign black, the way how we see it, when we appear in front of a white person, first thing they see is black. When you're driving, what the cop sees is black. The cops does not know about your temperament, and we are scared like hell. I remember driving with my girlfriend once where the police was behind us, and she was like, babes, why are you so quiet? Why are you sweating? I said, because Krista, you drive fast and there's a police behind us and we're in an expensive vehicle. Okay. She was like, what does it have to do with anything? She did not understand. Okay. Now the second scenario, besides that black man in court, both my nephew and my nephew is only 8 years older than, he's only 8 years younger than I am. We were in the woods one day. We saw this cute little white lady passing by with a dog. We got scared. We were panicking. It's like, excuse me, but holy shit, dude. We had to code switch. Try to be as kind and humble as possible. Because we did not want to perpetrate a threat to this lady because we did not know how she was going to receive us. So then again, like most blacks do when we see white people, especially if it's alone and it's a white woman, we code switch. We tend to make ourselves smaller. Hello, hi. Guys, I could tell you something that is humiliating to us. But however, that day, she had a dog. She stayed and she had a conversation with us for about 10, 15 minutes. When she left, my nephew cried. He said, wow, that white lady was not afraid of us in the bushes. I remembered saying that to my girlfriend, Krista, but she could not understand. Now that I'm explaining everything to her, because she could not understand. But guys, we are always afraid when we leave the house. Could you imagine being always afraid and yet still we are the one that's being looked at like we are the threat? Okay, I could tell you guys for a fact, black men in America, we are traumatized. We're traumatized. Now, I'm going to use examples where I've heard white people saying, well, why don't you guys just cooperate with the police? Why don't you guys do this? Question the average black man about their day, what they go through. Let's just put it this way, babes. I'm saying babes. It's like I'm thinking about talking to my girlfriend. It's like that's exactly what I said. I said, babes, this is what we normally say. If a white woman has to walk in a black man's shoe for 1 day, she will go crazy. Walk in a black man's shoes for 3 days, she will commit suicide. guys, the fact is, when you look at a black man, the distrust is from fear. Let's take that example in New York with the gentleman who actually looks like me. I don't know too many black people that will wear it's like ride a bicycle helmet with glasses, dressed in a conservative way. Guys, this is me, a professional black person, walking through Central Park. A bird watcher. How many bird watchers does how many black bird watchers does anybody know? In Central Park, taking photos, saying to a white woman, ma'am, the rules say that, okay, that dog is supposed to be leashed, okay? It is destroying the ecology and the environment. She felt empowered enough, as one white comedian put it, she did not need mace to walk in Central Park. She got her race. She called up the police and emphasized, she illustrated it was a black man. Thank goodness this man was a Harvard educated person who did not run, who used his intellectual faculties to explain himself. If that man ran, most of you guys would not understand what the average black man who fit that description would have went through. I could have imagined, and all black people would have imagined, the New York City's police department will come out in force looking for a black man who assaulted or threatened this lady. Guys, how do I know? I'm from Boston with the Charles Stewart, when Charles Stewart killed his wife. What the Boston police did to black men was atrocious. My mother worked at Brigham and Women's Hospital at that time. They left Brigham and Women's Hospital, okay? And the husband perpetrated that. My mom knows that I'm an ambulance chaser. I see blue lights going, I hear sirens, I'm following it. So my mom called me up that day, and she just happened to say, Junior, stay your butt in the house right now. Because she knew with that excitement, I was gonna go to see what's happening. She said, if you only know what police are doing to these black men out here, stay in the house. Guys, black men, all black men, because Star Show said it was a black man who perpetrated that act. They actually had black men with their pants down to their legs. Black men were actually lined up like they were about to reboard another slave ship. To not go into that much, the city of Boston had to pay over $4 million in, what's the word I'm using? For civil rights infringement. But what I would like for everyone to take from this, guys, we are scared. Black men are scared. We are traumatized every day. Now, my girlfriend was saying, but babes, you walk into a place and you own it. I feel like I need to walk into that place and say I'm different, which is not right. I feel like I need to walk into a group of white people so they could hear my West Indian accent so I could separate from that stereotype. Guys, it's not fair. It's not fair. I go shopping with my white, with my white, I love to call her my mother-in-law because you know what, she deserves that title. Okay, I go shopping with her. I have to make sure I stick to her. Now here in the country, I went to vote yesterday. I want to make sure that I have my white girlfriend to feel safe. Me as a man, to me, I'm the one that's supposed to be protecting her. Guys, we are hurting in America. And Elliot, you had mentioned about trust.
Yes.
What you do.
Yes.
The black man about his experience, and don't take it to offense, because when we do talk about that, it's emotional. I have, through my father, I have the communication skills to do that, but get to know the other person without judgment. Just ask, okay?
So I have a question. Obviously, there's an issue for a white male or a white female woman, I should say, mediator when dealing with a black or brown participant in a mediation. But there are black mediators who end up dealing with white litigants. And so kind of a reverse role situation. I'm sure you have people that are white, and you need to somehow bridge that bias that exists. I don't know, can I call you Erlene and Kai? May I? I may? Okay, so are you both mediators as well?
Absolutely.
Okay, so, and do you have white clients? Do you have white participants in your mediations?
Yes.
And do you experience that bias from that white person toward you as a black mediator? And if so, how do you deal with that?
Well, if I may speak first, I've been mediating for a very long time. And I have had many experiences, not only in mediation, but in my 40 years of the practice of law, and even before that. And it's just amazing to sit here and listen to John, if I may, about all of these experiences and to not say anything, because I mean, I can tell you an experience I had as recently as yesterday. I could tell you an experience my husband talked about last night at the dinner table. But yes, I find that not only in court, but also in mediation, that I feel that I have to go the extra miles to establish the trust early on. I find that I probably don't get selected as often as my equally skilled peers to be an ADR professional because of my race. I find that some of my peers are less willing to, maybe less willing to work with me, and I feel that sometimes there may be thoughts of some type of threat that are really just based on biases. So it just kind of permeates the system. And I've been at this for so long, and I can tell so many stories. And I was waiting to add a few things, but I recently published an article entitled Microaggressions in ADR. Microaggressions are those little things that happen on a really relatively often basis that kind of just continue to chip at you and tear at you. They're like tiny scratches or mosquito bites. And you just learn how to, as best as you can, manage around those kinds of things. However, as I tell my husband, long in the tooth, I'm well over 60 now, I do tend to address them more actively than I did in the past. I've always been an addresser, but now I'm probably a little bit more of an aggressor in trying to address the things I experience. And to answer your question, yes, in mediation, I really do feel that I have to go that extra mileage to gain the trust of the persons with whom I'm working.
Well, and you also have intersectionality in that you're also a Black woman. So, you know, the white women here in our audience also have to overcome that womanhood, but you have that intersectionality, which is something I learned from this book, where you've got two going at you.
Yes.
I don't know, Kai, do you
Yes.
have similar?
Yes.
Hi, I'm Key, and I'm fairly new to mediation as a profession. I'm moving into mediation, so I'm learning more. However, I have over 20 years as an educator and an administrator in education, as a business owner. What I have found is, to echo what Erlene has shared, is that it is very clear early on that merit is not provided to Black women the same way that it is given so freely to others, even, you know, with same experience, same degrees, same life experience. It can often be overlooked. And what happens oftentimes in building the trust, and what Arlene was speaking about, microaggressions that weighed heavily on me, is because the triggers where the communication and the connections between two people often stop when the little things happen. So for instance, if I am talking to you and in your enthusiasm, you cut me off to ask a question or to follow up, that is a trigger for me that oftentimes I am overspoken in a room when I'm the minority, right? So it then may encourage me to either stop talking or to pursue talking, which then is labeled as being aggressive, right? Even though the other party initiated that behavior. Authentic listening is critical in human relations, period. And to listen authentically and be open. I was excited when you started your comments, Elliot, with the word, this may be uncomfortable, because it acknowledges that we're all in a place where it can be uncomfortable, but at least I'm willing to hear it. So if people can say, you know what, this probably will be very challenging for me to hear, and I may not fully understand, but I really want to understand so that I can best represent you, so that we can get to a qualified solution or mutually beneficial agreement. I think oftentimes is where we can start. However, to John's point, much of this is ingrained, and there are many barriers to tear down when you meet someone who has been challenged over and over, who may not have extensive global experience in travel, who may not have experience at being at integrated schools, who may not have lived in integrated neighborhoods to understand fully what other people's life experience is. Because if my experience is limited, then I can only live within that experience. And so there are some challenges to overcome. But to start with authentic listening, to be mindful of the interaction and the perceptions that are taken away from those interactions, that humanistic understanding. I want to be with you as a person, but I don't pity you. I respect you. I honor you, right? I honor that you may have had a very invalid legal record. I honor that. I know that was a challenge, right? So I think moving towards those honorable recognitions of people's life experiences will start.
You know what, Matt? I would like to add to what was it Kai? I forgot.
It's key.
Oh, Key. It's like Key. I'm
Thank
sorry.
you. Yes, that's okay.
You had mentioned two words here: international experiences. And with what Arlene had mentioned about like the barriers because of your skin color. Now, Jeff read a piece from my website, and I knew that you did not take that part from this morning, because this is what I actually had to add some words to my website, because this is a phenomenon that just never ceases to amaze me. All of my mentors are white, and they admitted to me out plain, your skin color is going to make it so hard for you. But however, what I have found out, what draws white people to me, what makes white people trust me, is my West Indian accent. I thought that was going to be a hindrance. Okay, they really like the accent. It's because number one, it's like, where are you from? So then they initiate the conversation. It gives me a chance to personalize myself. Okay, and I have had more success as a West Indian than a Black person, simply because of what I sound like, and simply because I'm talking about myself. I've been traveling with my father since 1974. I have seen many cultures and seen many faces and people. That's what draws white people to me. And yeah, I'm ready if anyone wants to add to that. You know what, Jeff? Elliot, I do agree with what Kai said. It's like by just starting by you saying this might make you feel uncomfortable. Okay, when we are in an uncomfortable place, we will do things to make us comfortable, and facilitating a conversation where by bringing it to the table, I did not know. If you guys will go to YouTube, okay, I have a video with my girlfriend called "I Did Not Know What I Did Not Know." That I got many praises from white people, and a lot of black people did not care for it. Okay, and that is something. It's like, you know what? Probably after you guys watch the video, you guys could help me out and it's like, right, give some feedback.
John, thank you. One thing that I'd really like is your email address, if you can put it in the chat so we can communicate with you further rather than LinkedIn. I echo everything that Elliot said, and yes, I have certainly seen some of the negative experiences that Arlene and Key are referring to as well. I am not a family mediator. And, you know, I fully agree that I think we in this country particularly have a lifelong struggle to overcome all of the horrendous things that we have done to Black people in general, and also to ourselves, because it's a terrible way to live. I did have a question, and maybe a naive question or thought, because I don't practice in the family arena, but I wonder if this trust building process that you're talking about, particularly with Black men, but probably also with Black families, if this is something that you can address in a mediation context outside of the court system. Certainly there are systematic problems. There are enormous systematic problems with the criminal justice system, with, I think, the family law system, even with the civil system, but people tend to individually get hurt in probably the family law system and the criminal system, first and foremost and most dramatically. And if you can help to create that trust by getting both parties, a struggle perhaps, to work outside the system and come up with some agreement, I wonder if you might have more success, particularly with those Black males that you were referring to as very, very fearful of even sitting down and talking in the mediation. The other thing that I have seen, because I've done a lot of community mediations, and I don't assume anymore in those contexts that just because someone's born in America means that we have a whole lot of commonality culturally. So listening and being able to hear without a filter that's closing you off is very important. But I've also found that there frequently, and I think this is part of what you're talking about, a very useful educational component for people who are not familiar with mediation, what it's about, how to do it, or what the possible outcomes are. And sometimes spending a fair amount of time talking with the participants, maybe individually, maybe jointly, to get them to the table and get them focused on talking, if you will, and working towards a resolution is very helpful. It sounds like that's part of what you're constantly doing. And I certainly thank you, because I need to be hearing this conversation almost on a daily basis.
Well, Joanne, thank you very much. You know what? And with that said, 2 days ago, I have been making a presence on LinkedIn. Okay, someone from Rhode Island, which is not too far from where I am. Okay, right, just a few minutes from where I am. She's white, and she has been putting some controversial stuff to some. Okay, on LinkedIn. Okay, she is challenging her white. Her former, I mean, like, it's like, right, she's challenging white people to facilitate that and whatnot, because she herself said that she was never aware of her white privilege. So this is something that we do have in mind, okay, to facilitate these conversations. But however, we're going to do it with Americans, not Black Americans only, not white Americans. We're going to do it with Americans, okay, because I am on the outside looking in. I see Americans, and I want to be considered an American. So I think this is how we're going to get through it, is together.
You know, everything you've said has been very interesting, and I apologize. First of all, I was embarrassed to come in late because I had something that emerged that gotten away. I do want to commend the other Elliot for having a name, for spelling his name correctly and being another Elliot H. And I have an experience that's a little bit, that's really just the opposite of this, and I was anxious to hear how you all address this. Just for my own personal research, I am in West Virginia. And West Virginia is about 3.3% Black and a negligible percentage of anything else. I'm big. I mean, I'm 6'4". I'm the smallest man at my Thanksgiving table, but nonetheless, I'm of an imposing size that makes people a little nervous. But I do. It's funny how Joanne, one of the things you talked about was trying to make people comfortable. You have to spend so much time trying to make people comfortable. To spend so much time trying to show that I am one of you, that I am a West Virginian, a native and raised here. And you do have to spend a little bit of extra time to get people to be okay with you. I had one lawyer he considered it a constructive criticism to say that I was too slow on the wind up. In other words, that I spend too much time talking to the people before the mediation. And the reason I do that is because I've always felt that I needed to. I've practiced law now for 39 years, and I've practiced in all the counties in the state, and I've tried an unusual number of cases. I've had about 110 jury trials, or maybe more, all in the civil context. And and going around to those places, I've certainly learned the language. I've learned the language to try to get people to feel at ease. And I don't even know that I'm using that. I don't even know that I've done that. But it's part of what I have had to be in order to have a successful career here in some of the larger law firms, and now in my mediation practice. So all of this is very interesting. I hope I didn't take up too much time.
So one thing I would like to add, if you don't mind, John, to share is that in your work as mediators, and in our work as mediators, as I'm learning to say, consistency in action is critical. It is important that the community that you're serving sees that you are consistent in calling out injustice where it exists, whether it is comfortable for you or if it is not comfortable for you. If you are consistently recognizing wrong is wrong, you identify that publicly and take the steps and actions to move towards, I know we hear this, equitable change, then it is not perceived as this inauthentic addressing of your personal situation. It is, I see wrong, I call out wrong, and I change it. I seek for us to find an agreement, and being consistent in that, I think will also carry the ability to establish trust and build mutually beneficial relationships with your clients each and every day.
I agree, totally agree. So this is what, Natalie and Jeff, how do we look on time here? Because I'm a talker. Jeff, you might want to unmute yourself. Jeff, you might want to unmute yourself. All right.
Yeah, can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Okay, forgive me, I'm having a little technical problem here. John, sad to say we're about out of time. We do try to limit these to 1 hour, and we're just about at that time. Obviously, these kinds of conversations are very valuable and can and should and will continue far beyond this. So let's just, let's say this time together has been very valuable. And John, thank you. And everybody who participated in the conversation, all thank you very, very much. It's the Codman Food Bank, John, to which you'd like us to direct contributions. It's
the
Codman.org.
The Codman Square Health Center Food Bank.
Right, and it's www.codman.org. And with that, we'll see everybody next week. Thank you all very much. A terrific session.
they're complete.
This is what I included, my phone number. So if you had any questions, if you have any questions, as you guys see, I'm the most approachable person. So please do give me a call. I would love to hear from you, genuinely.
Thanks, John.
Thank you.
All right, bye, guys.